Welcome back to History of States. Today we're diving into one of the most inspiring stories in American sports history, a moment that transcends athletics and speaks to the very heart of human determination and resilience. It's March 2021, and the world of mixed martial arts is about to witness something extraordinary. But to truly understand this moment, we need to go back several years and explore the journey of a woman who would become a pioneer in her sport and an American hero in her own right. Ronda Rousey burst onto the scene in the early 2010s as a force unlike anything women's MMA had ever seen. She was dominant, fierce, and unapologetically herself. Fight after fight, she demolished her opponents, often in under a minute. She became the face of women's combat sports, proving that female fighters could headline major events and draw millions of viewers. Her signature armbar submission became legendary, a move so devastating that opponents knew it was coming but still couldn't stop it. But what many people don't know is that before Rousey ever stepped into an octagon, she was already an Olympic athlete. In 2008, she won a bronze medal in judo at the Beijing Olympics, becoming the first American woman to win an Olympic medal in that sport. Her transition from judo to MMA was natural, and she brought with her a level of grappling expertise that few in the sport possessed. Rousey's rise in MMA was meteoric. She won her first 12 professional fights, becoming the UFC's first women's bantamweight champion. She defended her title 6 times, often finishing fights in the first round. Sponsors lined up, Hollywood came calling, and Rousey became a crossover star appearing in movies and on talk shows. She was everywhere, a symbol of female empowerment and athletic excellence. Then came the fall. In November 2015, Holly Holm knocked out Rousey with a devastating head kick in the second round. It was shocking. The seemingly invincible champion had been dethroned. Rousey took the loss hard, admitting later that she struggled with depression and even had suicidal thoughts in the aftermath. She stepped away from the spotlight, away from the sport that had defined her. When she returned over a year later to face Amanda Nunes, many hoped for a comeback story. Instead, Nunes stopped her in just 48 seconds. 2 brutal losses, and Rousey's MMA career was essentially over. She was only 29 years old. She transitioned to professional wrestling with WWE, finding success and reinventing herself once again, but her fighting days seemed behind her. Now let's shift our attention to March 2021 and a very different kind of fighter. Nick Koumalatsos is a former Marine Corps Special Operations Command Raider, what many would simply call a Marine Special Operator, working alongside Navy SEALs and other elite units. Koumalatsos served multiple combat deployments and knew what it meant to push through pain, to accomplish missions when everything in your body told you to quit. After leaving the military, Koumalatsos stayed in phenomenal shape and became involved in various veteran causes and fitness communities. He was known for his mental toughness, his no-excuse attitude, and his dedication to helping other veterans transition to civilian life. He embodied the warrior ethos even outside of uniform. In March 2021, Koumalatsos was scheduled to compete in a grappling match, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu competition that tests skill, endurance, and mental fortitude. These matches can be brutal, requiring practitioners to use leverage, technique, and pure willpower to submit their opponents or avoid being submitted themselves. Here's where our two stories intersect in the most unexpected way. Ronda Rousey attended this event, supporting the martial arts community. That had given her so much. During the competition, something happened. The exact details vary depending on the account, but Rousey suffered an injury to her right arm. Some reports suggest it was broken, others describe it as a serious fracture. Regardless of the medical terminology, one thing was clear: she was in significant pain. Despite her injury, despite the discomfort she must have been feeling, Rousey stayed. She didn't leave to seek immediate medical attention. She didn't let her own pain become the focus. Instead, she remained in the venue, watching the competition continue. And that's when Nick Koumalatsos stepped onto the mat. Koumalatsos was competing with only one arm. Whether due to a previous injury or a decision made during the competition, he was fighting at a massive disadvantage. In Brazilian jiu-jitsu, both arms are crucial. You use them to defend against submissions, to execute your own attacks, to create leverage and control your opponent's body. Fighting with one arm is like trying to climb a mountain with one hand tied behind your back. But Koumalatsos didn't make excuses. He didn't ask for special consideration. He stepped onto that mat and fought with everything he had. The crowd watched in amazement as this former special operator used his legs, his core strength, his positioning, and his absolute refusal to quit to compete against able-bodied opponents. Ronda Rousey, sitting there with her own injured arm, watched this display of warrior spirit unfold before her eyes. Here was a man who embodied everything she had once represented in the octagon: the refusal to accept limitations, the determination to push forward no matter the obstacles, the pure competitive fire that defines true fighters. And then Koumalatsos won. With one arm, against all odds, the former Marine special operator secured a victory that sent the crowd into a frenzy. It wasn't just a win in a grappling match. It was a statement about human potential, about what we can accomplish when we refuse to let circumstances define our limitations. For Rousey, watching this moment must have been profound. She had experienced the highest highs of combat sports and the lowest lows. She had been the dominant champion and the fallen warrior. She had felt the sting of defeat and the darkness that can follow. But here, in this moment, injured and watching another fighter overcome impossible odds, she was witnessing something that spoke to the very core of why any of them fought in the first place. The parallels between their situations that day are striking. Both were dealing with arm injuries. Both could have easily walked away, made excuses, or focused solely on their own struggles. Instead, Rousey stayed and witnessed greatness, and Koumalatsos delivered a performance that transcended the sport itself. This story reminds us that heroism isn't always about the big stages or the championship belts. Sometimes it's about showing up when you're hurt, competing when you're at a disadvantage, and inspiring others through sheer force of will. Koumalatsos didn't need a military uniform to demonstrate the warrior mindset that had been forged through years of service in elite units. He carried it with him onto that mat, and he showed everyone watching what true grit looks like. For veterans like Koumalatsos, the transition to civilian life can be challenging. The sense of purpose, the camaraderie, the clear mission focus of military life doesn't always translate easily to the civilian world. Many veterans find solace and community in martial arts and combat sports, where the discipline, respect, and competitive spirit echo their military experience. These competitions become more than just sporting events. They become proving grounds where veterans can continue to test themselves, to push their limits, and to be part of a community that understands sacrifice and dedication. Ronda Rousey's presence at this event also speaks volumes about who she is beyond the persona that dominated MMA. Despite her own injury, despite the pain she must have been experiencing, she remained engaged with the martial arts community. She could have easily left, citing her injury as a reason to seek medical care immediately. But she stayed, she watched, and she witnessed a moment that would resonate far beyond that venue. The story of that day in March 2021 spread quickly through the martial arts community and beyond. Videos of Koumalatsos competing with one arm circulated on social media, inspiring countless people facing their own challenges. Comments poured in from people who were motivated by his example, from veterans dealing with injuries, from athletes facing setbacks, from ordinary people who found courage in his extraordinary performance. What makes this story particularly powerful is that it happened away from the mainstream sports media spotlight. This wasn't a UFC pay-per-view event with millions watching. This was a grappling competition, the kind of event that true martial arts enthusiasts attend, where the love of the sport and respect for the competitors creates an atmosphere of pure appreciation for skill and heart. In many ways, this moment represents the purest form of competition. No multi-million-dollar contracts were on the line. No championship belts or Olympic medals were being awarded. Just fighters testing themselves against worthy opponents, pushing their limits, and demonstrating what the human spirit is capable of when it refuses to surrender to circumstances. Nick Koumalatsos' military background adds another layer to this story. Navy SEALs and Marine special operators undergo some of the most grueling training in the world. They learn to function under extreme stress, to make decisions when exhausted, to complete missions when injured, and to never quit no matter how difficult the situation becomes. The phrase, "the only easy day was yesterday," is a Navy SEAL motto, but it applies to all special operations forces. Every day brings new challenges, and every day requires you to be better than you were before. That mindset doesn't disappear when the uniform comes off. It becomes part of who you are, woven into your character through years of training and real-world application. When Koumalatsos stepped onto that mat with one arm, he was drawing on years of mental conditioning, of pushing through pain, of accomplishing missions that seemed impossible. He was demonstrating that elite military training creates a mindset that transcends any single profession or activity. For Ronda Rousey, this moment may have offered perspective on her own journey. Her losses to Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes had been devastating, but they were also part of a larger story of courage, of putting herself out there repeatedly, of being willing to fail in front of millions. Not everyone has the courage to compete at the highest levels, to risk everything in front of the world. Rousey did that again and again, and while her career didn't end the way she might have hoped, her impact on women's sports is undeniable. Watching Koumalatsos win with one arm must have reminded her of why any of them fight in the first place. It's not ultimately about the wins and losses, though those matter. It's about the challenge, the test of self, the opportunity to discover what you're truly capable of when everything is on the line. It's about inspiring others, showing them what's possible, and refusing to accept the limitations that others might place on you. The broader message of this story resonates far beyond combat sports. Every day, people face their own battles with limitations, whether physical, mental, emotional, or circumstantial. We all have moments when we feel like we're fighting with one arm, when the odds seem stacked against us, when the easy choice would be to quit or make excuses. Nick Koumalatsos' victory that day sends a clear message: your limitations don't define you unless you let them. Yes, he was at a disadvantage. Yes, it would have been understandable if he had chosen not to compete or had lost. But he showed up, he fought with everything he had, and he won. Not because he was superhuman, but because he refused to let his circumstances become an excuse. This is the essence of the American spirit that we celebrate on History of States. It's the same spirit that drove pioneers across unexplored territories, that motivated inventors to keep trying after countless failures, that inspired civil rights leaders to keep marching in the face of violence and hatred. It's the refusal to accept that something is impossible simply because it's difficult. As we reflect on this moment from March 2021, we're reminded that history isn't just made in presidential elections or on battlefields, though those moments certainly matter. History is also made in small venues, in local competitions, in moments when ordinary people do extraordinary things and inspire others to be better versions of themselves. Ronda Rousey, sitting there with her broken arm, watching a warrior compete with one arm and win, witnessed a moment that encapsulates everything beautiful about combat sports and human determination. Two fighters, both facing physical limitations, both choosing to stay engaged with the community and sport they love, both demonstrating that courage isn't the absence of pain or difficulty but the decision to push forward despite them. Thank you for watching History of States. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Remember, we all have the capacity for greatness within us. Sometimes we just need to see someone else demonstrate what's possible to unlock our own potential. Until next time, keep fighting your battles with courage and honor.